Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today, like every other day, it's going to be an outstanding show. Okay, let me take you down where we're going today. Chicago native, Midwestern guy, but just imagine having the passion, that beast mind state to already envision your calling, what you want to do, and then wonder the path that it took you to get there. And more importantly, after you get there, the impact that you have placed on not only yourself, but family and friends, and more important, a legacy. Today on the show, we have a young man that has definitely done that in far, far, much more. Over 100 films to his credit. I thought it was 57. That just goes to show you we need to update the computer software because the computer software is at 57. I'd like to welcome to the show Chicago's own Rob Diggy Morrison. Did I get it right? No. Diggy Morrison. He don't want to be associated with Diddy.
Not at this time. Not at this time.
Rob, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Andre? How you feel, man?
I'm doing great. Thank you for blessing the show with your presence. Man, I do mean bless the show. Man, you've done some remarkable things. I mean, your bio, when you look at it, you'd be like, there's nowhere in the world for this guy to be this age and have achieved so much in his life. Before we get started, you're definitely a Chicago native. You're still currently in Chicago. Tell the viewers a little bit about you before we dive deep into your career.
Rob Diggy Morrison. I was born Rob Morrison, of course, Robert Morrison, and grew up in Chicago, West Side, treacherous West Side.
Yeah.
I'm still on the West Side, but not where I used to live.
Okay.
Further west. But it was a childhood. I had a great childhood growing up, and I rose through the gangs, through the drugs, through the Black Panthers, and all of that. I grew up seeing all of that, the prostitution and things like that. But that didn't form me as a human growing up. I had a liking for music early on because my uncles played in a band, and they would meet on Friday nights like a fish fry at my grandma's house. Mm-hmm. And she would have them playing in the front room before their gigs on Saturday.
Right.
And we would listen and intently to the point where I'm like, this is cool, listening to music and on a Saturday, Friday night, and didn't know anything about music, but we just my cousins and I just started picking up the instruments, and one thing led to another. We were playing. Mom then brought us equipment, and we were doing it.
What was the instrument you chose?
I chose guitar, but I didn't know I was going to later become a piano player.
Really?
I didn't know that. So
that's usually how it starts out. That's usually how it starts. Yeah, doesn't it? You get a guitar.
Yeah, but my uncle, but it turns out that my cousin actually taught me guitar. He was younger than I was, 2 years younger. And he taught me guitar, but he was the drummer of the band. So I can remember vividly one of the lines he taught me how to play was "Play that funky music, white boy."
Average white band.
It was a rhythm to it, and then I knew I was onto something. And we continued to that's how I continued to hone my craft, listening to different guitar players as I grew up. Mm-hmm.
Did you learn how to read music as well? Because some people have a gift to learn by, like you said, hearing. Were you able to incorporate that with actually reading?
I didn't read till I got to high school because I was in the the concert band as a trombonist. In my freshman year, I was a trombone player,
Mhm.
and I was super, super great. I was good. Like I was the bomb on trombone. Probably still am if I pick one up, but I mean, I could do all Earth, Wind, and Fire stuff. But I had to. That was my first course of reading through trombone,
Right.
and guitar came later because my high school band director threw me to the Wolves into the jazz band, and I had an ear, so I had like 50-50
Right.
super ear on one side, and then reading was subpar,
Right.
but I could correlate the two. You get what I'm saying? And once I figured it out, like, okay, if this is a B flat, on trombone, this is a B flat on guitar, just translate it. And then I know, but I wasn't good with notes.
Right.
I was good with singing the block chords like a B flat major seven, A minor seven. So I learned my rhythmic chords quicker than I did my notes.
Right.
And it still worked out because I could listen to the melodies and figure out the melodies and then have to understand how to read the melodies. And a friend of mine in college, I mean, high school, told me, you'll never get far reading, trusting your ear. You'll never get far trusting your ear. I got a full 4-year scholarship, trusting my ear, playing third trombone.
Right.
And that's the story. I'm sticking to it.
Do you really think that there was a disadvantage? What do you think, looking back, that the advantages would have been had you focused just, also on actually learning to read it?
Oh, I would have been better than George Benson.
Really?
Had I did what I had to do, but I stopped playing guitar after a while, probably after college. But I would have probably been like super, super great because I would have been able to read and play by ear. And my uncle was kind of giving me this little scenario. He was like, well, if you got a piece of sheet music in front of you, you don't have to necessarily play it just like it, but just long as you in the ball. It's like, say, if you get a reading gig, I could get away with a reading gig on if the chords were charted out for me already. So he says you don't have to play them exactly like them, but you want to voice the chords till they feel good, so they feel good to the listener. So I
Right.
did that a lot, got away with that. But this whole thing of somebody telling me I wouldn't make it in college because of my ear, that's a lie.
Hmm.
It's a total lie.
Who
Steve Rosenthal, wherever you are.
who were some of your role models outside of your uncle? Like, when you look back, and we'll move forward with this so it can make sense to the viewers. You grew up in the rough side of Chicago. I know all about Chicago. You got to be
Yes,
strong. Got to be strong with
yes,
that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Went
like,
through a lot.
outside of your uncles, like, who really said you got all this potential in you?
It wasn't really my family. They were super supportive, but outside of my family, like the kids in the neighborhood, "Oh, man, y'all gonna be great, man. Y'all like the Jackson Five, and we did all this little family gigs and outside and stuff like that. And I remember one guy saying on the back porch, we had a little band, it says he whispered on my ear and he says, "Well, if you smoke this weed, you're gonna play better." And my mama said, "What did he say to you?" And she cursed him out in 20,000 different languages and said, "So ever bring your black butt on this porch again?" But this guy was a super great guitar player. He was good. And he passed away, of course, but they were all for me playing, but they saw it kind of, but like you kids, so you grow up and you playing softball, you playing baseball, you playing football, but at the end of the day, it was music that I was involved in. So it wasn't really anybody in the neighborhood that you could really look up to, you know, just your peers and family. I would stick with my family first because that's what got it. That's what got me through. My mom was a big catalyst because she used to call me her little Burt Bacharach. I never forget it.
I know who
Because
that
I
is
would write
too.
songs.
Yeah.
I would write songs as a kid, and I said, "Mom, listen to this, listen to this." And I wasn't even playing piano then, just playing guitar. So that's how my mom was. I would say my family was a big inspiration. Nobody in the hood. We had one doctor that came out the hood, And the guys, I was just thinking about this the other day, the guys that play football, because I wanted to play football as a kid,
Right.
and these guys were getting letters and all these different Big Ten colleges. I'm like, ooh, ooh, that was exciting to me.
Right.
But it wasn't me, it was them. I
Right.
was cheering them on, and they wound up dropping the ball totally.
Really? When you say
And
drop the
I'm
ball,
glad I didn't.
what do you mean? When you say they dropped the ball?
Meaning that they didn't go to college or they didn't fulfill those responsibilities of being somebody in the hood. They never reached that acme. So I took it upon myself to go and continue to do what I had to do to make a name for myself. So if I come back to the hood now, people are like, "Oh, I remember you, man. You was in that music. You even because I taught school, for years. And my kids said, Mr. Morrison, you was the music teacher. You really, and that's what that was about. But the guys I grew up with, a lot of them are gone. A lot of them are gone, and they never made it to that next level
Mhm.
because of the circumstances in the neighborhoods. Children, like I say, drug gangs or whatever. But I don't. I just thank God for keeping me away from that, even though I was right in it, the thick of
Right.
it.
When did the narrative shift? This is a two-part question. When did the narrative shift, and when did you wind up getting accepted into Arkansas Pine Bluff University?
Well, your phone broke up. I mean, the thing broke up, so I didn't hear what you said in the
Oh, can you
beginning.
can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
I said, when did the gears shift? Like when did you decide to really take it serious when you start seeing everybody else now fulfilling their destiny that you wind up buckling down, and how did that buckling down get you into Arkansas Pine Bluff University?
Um, when I was a senior, I was offered a scholarship to about four universities, Bethune-Cookman and some other Grambling and stuff like that, and Delaware State, I remember. And I wound up taking the Pine Bluff one because the guys before me, they all went there. So it was a family of Marshall High School students
Mhm.
from the band that wound up going to, UAPB, we call it. And so I was like, I would feel much more at home if I went to this particular school.
Mhm.
And it was a big family of Marshall-lites at the school. So I fit right in. And not knowing, even on my path then, I was just a college student
Right.
playing trombone in the marching band, playing guitar in the jazz band. And that's what it was.
When did you just how did your career path take off? Like, what was that
Okay.
inspiring moment while you was in school? Because we all go through that when you first get into college. You don't really know what you want to do. You're you're
No,
you're
no.
you're exploring the territory, the landscape. But eventually, before you get to that degree, you got to look at yourself and say, okay, what am I doing? I got one more year. I got 2 more years. When did it click for you exactly which direction you wanted to go?
You know what? It really music was not something that I wanted to do as a career. I didn't even major in music. I majored in theater arts, which is, makeup, sound effects, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And but the band I played with, I mean, that's I got to tell the story. The band I played with on campus, we had like the Commodores, Barcades type
Mhm.
R&B band, and they recruited me as a freshman, and I didn't have my guitar, and I had to go back home and to Chicago and get my guitar second semester. And all the guys in the band, so help me God, all the guys in the band became professional musicians. I mean, like super professional, all over the country, world playing, and those guys were so good. Me playing with them, that was competitive. We did our rehearsals, and we sounded just as good as the time, just as good as Prince, and I felt comfortable playing with a group of professional musicians. Then, knowing that this could be something else for me, not knowing that all the guys in the band were going to either play with Prince, the Temptations, Tower of Power, um, Luther, Tony Braxton. Everybody in the band did something like, and I'm like, wow, this is hot. So that was right there for me. I hold that true. The band was called Polo, and if you ever get a chance, look up Larry Braggs, who sang with Tower of Power for like so many years. He was my inspiration. In fact, I just got him in the Hall of Fame at my school because I'm a Hall of Famer in media and entertainment with my university. I'm alumni, like I say, and that was a big step for me. So yes. I'm always happy about that story.
You mentioned Hall of Famer. What was that like for you to get inducted into the Hall of Fame at your own alma mater with so many great individuals that you actually played
Yeah.
with, saw their careers prosper?
Yeah, that was a defining moment because it was during COVID, so everybody was here at the house at my apartment, and we sat around. And I guess the coolest backdrop was mine because everybody else had little black, shades or whatever. And I said my little speech, and that was my cousin, who's a like serious thug, was crying. So everybody was here like, watery eyes and everything like that. But that moment was so great because they had never had anybody like me to have that honor.
Mhm.
Now that my partner Larry has his honor, I got him in. But yeah, that was a great honor for me to be a part. So now I look at it like I can walk on campus and there's my name somewhere.
Yeah,
My name is etched forever at that university. So that's always a big part. But I want to take my that platform to a different level. I probably have to talk to my publicist, Desiree Benson, for that, to talk about the HBCU elevation, to get me into more colleges, to talk about music as a profession, and that's what I plan to do. But yeah, the whole thing was just amazing. Somebody nominated me.
right.
Somebody
You know,
nominated
do
me
you know
before I
who it
nominated
was?
somebody else.
Do you know who it was?
Diane Gentry, my friend Diane Gentry, who was in the band,
Mhm.
who she was just a band student, but she was part of the alumni
Right.
association. And she got me in, and she said, fill out this paperwork, da da da. I got the paperwork in, and um, that was it. So we did the ceremony online, but I went back to school 2 years ago, and we did a live ceremony, so which is even cooler.
Rob, was there ever any difficult moments with this journey so far? It sounds beautiful blessings and so forth, but was there ever any difficult moments going to get to the point where you at now?
Yeah, you always have a lot of stumbling blocks along the way. The no's, N-O, you know, you get a lot of no's. You get stolen equipment because sabotage. They don't want your stuff to play. Operate or whatever. Course pull out. Just all kinds of things would happen,
Mhm.
and this is because people start seeing your growth, but then yet they don't want you to grow. So in order for that to happen, they'll say, "Well, let me put a banana in the tailpipe," type deal. And so I did. I went through that all my life, and well, half of it, and I'm still kind of going through it because you see a lot of people that, well, I don't like to use the word haters. I stay away from that word, but a lot of people that will just try to put you in a position where they don't want you to succeed.
When you say
So I've had that. I've had my guitar broken. You
really,
know, yeah, I got a 63 Gibson that's been broken. I was working on doing one of our rehearsals with the band I was playing with in college. The guy just cracked it. And I'm like, 63, bro, you don't do that to a 63 Gibson.
I can't believe
And
that people will still be trying to sabotage what
jealousy.
you're trying to do. Yeah, I find that hard to believe that grown individuals still have that type of personality embedded in them to keep doing stuff like that. You wind up
Just
teaching.
jealous.
You say you wind up teaching school too, correct? How did that come about?
When I got out of college, I wound up teaching public school and for about 20 plus years. I kind of still teach
Mhm.
as a substitute now, but I was thrown into a situation. I went to the school because the program I was in was closing out, and I went to talk to the principal, and he says, "Well, hey, as soon as you get your paperwork, come back." And paperwork came back. He literally threw me in the classroom. I had no knowledge of any of that stuff.
What was the
But
biggest
being the type
challenge
of person I
working
was,
in? What was the biggest challenge? Because I am a former school teacher. And I remember my first day at teaching kindergarten through eighth. I went home and laid on the couch, went to sleep. I remember telling my friend I need to call every single teacher from kindergarten through eighth and tell them I am deeply sorry because I see what they had to deal with. What was that first experience like for you?
Some of the same. I didn't know. I didn't know that the kids couldn't. I thought every kid could read. That was number one. So he stuck me. He put me in the. He wanted to do music. He wanted to try something different, which worked. Totally worked. So I knew they couldn't read. So I had to figure out a way to get my kids to read and write.
Mhm.
So instead of going to the copy room and saying, well, let's print out 30 sheets of music, to a Christmas carol, let's write it on the board. Let me write it on the board. So now you're using your writing skills. Now we're going to read it together. So now you're going to read. So I was incorporating what the teachers should have been doing anyway, keeping them, active like that. But
Right.
it worked out. So now they're getting my perspective of it. Then they're getting the teacher's perspective when they get back to classroom. So um, we did so much, but I cried a lot. My first year, I cried. And my principal was like, look, you can't save them all. And that was crazy. I would literally be like, oh, I can't do this. Because I thought kids could read. I thought everybody was at level, and not knowing, because I'm thinking, because I was a smart kid in school, I was the science fair recipients and all that good stuff, but these kids could not perform. And I was like, wow. And my principal, I remember what was the turning point. He brought me in the office and he says, I need you to sit down. I need you to look at something right quick. He said, look at that board. It was the state goals. All the state goals were, in a frame behind his desk, behind his chair.
Mhm.
He says, look at these. He says, you teaching this, you doing this. And he says, you doing things that half these teachers not around here not even doing.
Right.
That was because I had a passion.
Mhm.
I had a passion for these kids. I wanted to make sure that they were on point and on task. But unfortunately, a lot of them, they didn't make it. A lot of my students didn't make it. I see some from, I saw a mail lady, my mail lady. I said, did you see my water in the hallway the other day? She said, no. I said, somebody took my water from, the delivery.
Mhm.
And she says, you used to be my teacher. So I say, who? I said, what's your name? I didn't. When she said her name, I knew the name, but I didn't know the face.
That
And we just laughed. She says, I saw you on TV. I'm like, oh yeah, well maybe you did.
that has to be kind of like a saddening moment, especially as a former school teacher myself, is when you hear the faculty or the head of the faculty come at you and say some stuff like you can't save them all, because deep down inside, as an educator, you want to save them all. You don't want to see
You want to?
nobody be left be left behind. When are there, do you know of any of the kids personally that you came involved with that did had kind of like get left behind, and you look at them and almost like what you did with the mail lady and ask yourself, could I have done something different for that kid?
I mean, I tried. I tried. They would like to stay after class and come in my classroom and just be around me because of the positivity that I exude. They wanted to be around Mr. Morrison. They didn't want to go to class. And I live down the street from my job, which is like a block away. So they saw me in the neighborhood daily. So they had
Right.
somebody to look up to. They didn't see that all the time in the neighborhood. One of their educators. Oh, mama, that's my, I'd sit on the front porch at 2:30 when I'm getting out of school. Mama, that's my teacher. That's my teacher. They get excited. So all of that played a big part, but I couldn't. I tried. I really tried. Even my I'm gonna just say it. My nieces and nephews would say, "Oh no, we don't like going to Uncle Robert house because he's gonna make us read a book." Well, you need it, and now look at you. You know what I'm saying? But I was just that type of person. I was a drill sergeant growing up.
Okay.
I was a drill sergeant. I made sure, hey, the house was clean. We read books. I look at my brother like, man, you ain't reading that word right.
I see all these awards behind you in the
Yes,
background.
sir. Yes, sir.
So you went from playing music to composer. Were you more and now that you're older and mature, do you think you might have been more of a composer to begin with, prior to just playing the trombone, the keyboards, and the guitar, because you have over 100 things, movie composing artwork that you've done. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot to your credit, and they're award-winning performances
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
performed by award-winning musicians and artists.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you like the best? What do you like the best?
Composing. Now, what you see in the background are what you call remix production plaques. Now,
Okay.
if you want to back the story up to as you talking about me composing, um, I I guess hearing voices first off, hearing like for instance Beyonce,
Mhm.
hearing her voice allows me to play my piano like literally in front of me, formulating chords around a voice, new chords around a voice that gives it a different feel from the original. So
Yeah.
every record you see back there are remix production records because I was after school at 2:30, I would leave and go to my friend's studio and learn how to just play piano. I was playing piano, but playing behind remixes. And that was from the chords to the bass line to the strings to the guitar. So
Mhm.
that's all arranging.
Mhm.
So it kind of intertwines itself with composing, where if you're watching a film, you got to add piano, you got to add strings, you got to add this note, that note, whatever. So and I credit the remix game for allowing me to understand how to score because in the studio that we were in, it was a big loft, and in the loft there was guy had a film studio and production record studio. So I walked in his office, and that's how I got started scoring. I said, I bet you I could put music to that scene. I was watching a scene that they were editing. I said, I bet you I could put music to that. Just like that. He said, for real? I said, yeah. He said, bring this stuff in. So I went next door, I got my keyboard, set it up, and it was a scene where the guy had gotten shot and da da da. And the guy was crying and blah, blah, and I'm playing this sad piano music. I'm like, this is it. He said, well, can you finish? Can you finish? I'm like, sure. I mean, it's nothing, just follow the scenes
Mhm.
and know where you need to add the action or the music or whatever. So did it work out? Yes, because that was my first shot at scoring. That movie is called Trust, Trust, and it wound up on Tubi, and it's like grainy, low budget, but it's a good movie. If you ever get a chance to watch Trust, that was my first film, and it was like I say, it was the pinnacle of me getting started, and it worked. So I learned how to arrange just because I watched a lot of television, growing up. So
Right.
I knew that the dialogue needed to have its space. So, you're going to play, then dialogue do its thing, or you can play inside of the dialogue without overshadowing the talent.
Mhm.
But the remix game taught me how to, I guess, get that fine tuned.
Mhm.
I'm not always right with it, but a lot of the remixes that we've done, um, he'll say, "No, I don't like that. Let's try it again," and that's what makes it better too. Now I would argue with him, "No, man, let's keep it." Nope, the producer didn't want that. So you got to go with what they want.
Right.
Just like a director. A director say, "No, you did too much in this scene. You got to lay low, come back some." So, um, I credit the music remix game, and then I wound up getting a Grammy with Beyonce playing on her Crazy in Love remix, which it was a big club remix, and a lot of people played it, but a lot of people don't know about it. So, but it did win a Grammy, and I just looked at the results today for the Grammys.
Yeah.
We didn't make it. We submitted Tony Braxton. We did a remix for her.
What is the difference between, you credit the remix, but i- is there what's the flip side of that? Is that you just coming in there being creative and putting together the instruments? Which
Yep.
one do you like
That's
the best? Do you like that's already there, or you want to come in there and be creative with your own mind?
Well, you have to be creative with your own mind. They'll give you like the original. You'll hear the original, and
Mhm.
can I make the original better?
Okay.
You hear a lot of Luther songs, and like that "Love Won't Let Me Wait." That was a remake, and they just flipped it, totally flipped it out. Now I'm capable of doing things just like that and making them better.
Mhm.
Um, so with remixes, yes, you just get the acapella and you just go for it. And I've done everything from Michael Jackson to Janet Jackson to Marianne to Destiny's Child, Beyonce, a few Beyonces, just an array of artists that I've worked on their remixes and things like that. And but does that give me an opportunity to figure out the next level of composing? Yes, it did. It really helped a lot, you
Well,
know.
let me ask you a question. You just brought up something that I'm even baffled about. You go into the studio, these artists go into the studio and they make these things. Why not consult with somebody like you prior to releasing this out? Because you're taking a project that's been out, you test the water with it, and it doesn't quite hit the Billboard 100s or hit the cinema
Yeah.
100%. Why not consult with somebody like you during the first phase of production where you can sit there and listen to it and go, you know what, it needs a little bit of this Rob Morris flavor to it. You know what I mean? To make it jump over the top. Why not invest in that part before you release it to begin with?
Well, once they don't pay, you don't get royalties from the remixes. That's number one. So you're just putting it out on a wing and a prayer. And what they used to call it back in the day was spec remixes.
Mhm.
So you would just do them in hopes that these remixes would get picked up.
Mhm.
So there was no thing where they was like let's get him on this song and we'll put it out. It was nothing like that. If that was answering your question the right way. So
Mhm.
we would always have to be in a position to like wait. Nowadays, these young guys, they just take the acapellas, and now with AI, you can just really rip the acapellas, do the remix, send it into the label, and instead of them getting 15,000, $20,000, um, they just get the recognition because there's no more money in the end for them to get that type of money anymore. So they kind of destroyed that part of that art of it of just having to do them and just put them out where blood, sweat, and tears. We put this stuff out through the labels. In other words,
Right.
so the labels hire us to do the artists. They'll say, "Hey, we got you want to do this Beyonce remix? It's going to be worth like say $20,000 or whatever." That was back in the day, like in the '90s, '80s, '90s. You can get 20, 25,000 a remix. Now you can't get no more than $100 a remix, probably. You know.
Now, you mentioned Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Tony Braxton, and a lot of an array of talent that you've been exposed to. When you're doing a remix for these artists, do you actually meet with them first? Firsthand, pick up the phone, or you don't have no engagements with them at all. You go through the management staff. How does that work?
Well, I can take your steps. The management is involved. There's phone calls involved. Um, and in some cases, if the artist is in town, they'll come by the studio. In our case, Beyonce never came by. They flew to New York. Actually, to save money, I cut my parts, and then the producer flew to New York with a background vocalist to finish out one of the records. I can't remember which record it was, but they wound up. It was two of them instead of three people going. And then consulting with them, and then going to a studio because, say, for instance, in remix production, the records when you what do you call it time stretching, the records go from to so they have to time stretch it to make it sound to get it at a certain tempo. So this one time we did it, Beyonce's vocals were sounding like Mickey Mouse, and he could not get it right for the reason. So he called a label and told label, he says, "Well, look, I need to have Beyonce in the studio." He said, "I can fly to New York with my team, excluding me, and go in the studio and have her sing it live." So now the advantage is live is that she's there. We got a clean vocal of live, and it's not Mickey Mousey. They put it out. Everybody's happy.
Who's the who?
Mm-hmm.
Which is which piece of work when you're dealing with those professionals, the Beyonces, the Michael Jackson, are you most proud of? I know you're proud of all of them, but which one really stands out? You can do three of them that really stands out, and why does it stand out for you?
Check on it. I love because it's so melodic. We did what's the record? I can't, man. The B Day record with Rodney Jerkins. He did that. What's it? I can't think of the record, but the one Rodney Jerkins did on her B Day album.
Mhm.
Um, when it starts off, do 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 doom 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 doom. Uh, I can't think of the name of the record. Deja Vu. I'm sorry. I got a blank. Deja Vu. That's a bad record. The remix is crazy. I love the remix on that. Um, and Crazy in Love, just because it won the Grammy. But I like all of them, but I favor a lot of times. Ray J's record is up there. Not Ray, yeah, One Wish. No, I don't think he's up there, but we did One Wish, and that was a nice melodic record too.
Okay.
Ray J's record was really nice, So I like when I'm playing, I formulate chords that make you feel good. So um, they have to follow. Everybody has to follow behind me. The guitar player,
Right.
if it's a guitar player, the bass player, they have to call me. If I've left the studio, say, well, Rob, what chords did you play here? Because we're trying to figure out the voicings. I love that. These are professional musicians. I mean, people that play with R. Kelly and Emotions and Earth, Wind and Fire. They
Hmm.
calling me.
So I'm gonna ask you a question now. You wind up getting contacted by Tri-Destined Studios,
Yes,
and Trey Haley, right? All
Trey
these
Haley.
people are connected to the BET new series. Well, it's not new; it's been out. What is it? Season 4 or 5, and the season, the movie or the series is called The Family Business.
Mm-hmm.
How in the how did that even happen? Now, we was talking off camera, and I told you I've seen the trailers, and I'm gonna watch the season. A star-studded lineup of talent in this. How did you wind up hooking up with BET to even be a part of this project?
Well, it was through Tridestin Pictures, Tridestin Studios, and it took me 2 years and about maybe a few months back to find out who actually got me that contact. I found out, but I was sitting around the house. I had prayed for another guy to get that series on WB Homecoming. His son was on Homecoming. I said, hey man, why don't you you're a producer, you're great. Why don't you try to see if you get a Homecoming? He's like, well, I was like, well, if it was me, because that's just how I'm excited about getting things done. So got on my knees, brother, and I prayed, I prayed. And I was like, God, you got to open up another door. This is it. I knew I was already working, was doing things, everything was fine, but I knew I needed something else to do.
Mhm.
And I was sitting around and I always told myself, if the phone rings, email, text, and it's about business, you better be ready. You better be ready to strike.
Mhm.
Phone rings, and it's my not my WhatsApp number, but my Google number. My Google number rings, and it's 818, and the person hangs up the phone. And the first thing I said, that's money. I said it just like that. I said, that's money. And I called the number back. Say, hey, I said, somebody called Rob. I said, yes, I was looking for Rob. Diggy says, my name's Trey Haley. I'm a director for the family business. And then my antennas went up. Because at first I thought maybe he was just wanting to, maybe a couple songs,
Right, right.
for the show, and you pay you off and you keep it moving. But it's like, yeah, we got these 10 episodes we're working on. You know, I said, oh, okay. So and he asked me, was I busy? Because if you're busy with something, they don't, and that's the reason why the other guy couldn't finish out. Matthew Head did 3 seasons,
Right.
and he was a piece of furniture, with them, but he couldn't do it because he wound up getting P Valley. Remember P Valley?
Yeah, yeah. I
He wound up
watched
getting
that
P
now.
Valley on Star. Hmm?
I
You
did
saw
watch
that,
some
didn't
of that now.
you? Well, Matthew wound up getting P Valley and another series on WB. So he had
Okay.
two different things he was doing at the same time.
Right.
So when Trey called me, I was like, yeah, we got it. So he says, we'll call you back with some details. And that morning, man, I had a check in my mailbox. I was in my inbox. I was like, ooh, wee. But um, I knew I had a job to do. I knew I had something to do that was going to be far more greater than just a few $1,000s, So I had to figure out how do I. Once they sent me the clip, and he went over the clip, and I didn't hear from the guy until like I finished the first episode, and I had four revisions.
Hmm.
I must be doing something right. Four revisions.
Is that good or
I
bad?
called. I called a few people. I said, "Hey, one of the guys on the show." I said, "Hey, did you get me, this work?" He said, "No, it wasn't under me." I called a young lady on the show. She was like, "No, it wasn't under me." I had no idea who it was for about maybe about 3 4 months back. I met the lady that actually put my name in the pot. She's the hairdresser. She's my Facebook friend, Gayla, Gayla Belay. She may be under something else now, but she's had a hairdresser for the show. So she wound up telling Trey about me. And so that's how he was able to go to my SoundCloud and check my stuff out. And that was it. Before that, I was like, yes.
So, Rob, this is a major series. I mean, it's up there with Power, and we shared my thing with the 50 Cent series, and this is definitely
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
be one of those series that's right in that same category. But my question to you is, um, what was the biggest challenge for you? What did they really want from you going in uh, to make this particular series stand out? What did they come at you for?
Well, he always told me, the director Trey, to finesse the scenes. So it wasn't where I had to do a lot of outwardly things like this. Da, 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 da. They didn't want that. They wanted it to be subtle.
Hmm.
So I'm a subtle piano player anyway. So you give some strings and some piano, and some little sound effects, and you're done. And I wanted to do more. First season, I wanted to do that's fourth season. I wanted to do more. He's like, no, no. He said, this is fine. You're doing enough. Because once again, it's a soap opera and it's not to highlight the composer. It's more so for the actors.
Right.
And that didn't bother me, but we had some challenges in terms of the sound. Like
What
my
do you
sound suffered.
What do you mean?
My sound. In terms of the deliveries of how they wanted it, the sound company that was involved with them, they challenged me a lot because I didn't know how to like send the deliverables to them. That became a problem. But I remember getting a phone call in the summer, like we were done, and they were getting ready to go into to 5. He says, "Do you have Pro Tools?" I'm like, "No, I don't have Pro Tools." I said, "I can get it." He said, "No, don't buy it. Don't buy it. Don't worry about it." He says, "We just got rid of our old sound team and our old post production team. We got a new team. You're gonna be talking to them, and we're gonna figure out how we can get this done with you." That's how he trusted me.
Right.
He trusted me to say, I got you." So when the new sound team came aboard, I hired a guy, my friend Jonathan Pierre. I hired him to do my editing to send to LA. So it was like a 3-man team, 4-man team that we were on these text feeds every day,
Hmm.
showing, getting the music to Jonathan so he can level it out to send it back to LA. Worked like a charm, except maybe 2 episodes, 3, and maybe at most, that some things were off. And then we were like going back to LA, like, hey, what is this right here? Why is this not lining up? You could be in the bed and they call you and wake you up out your sleep, like, look, we need this now. Cause see, television don't wait.
Yeah.
Television does not wait, and they on schedules. Rob, BT is going to be in 1 hour. Are you done yet? We need to get this. Is Jonathan ready yet? Da, 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 da. It was on the clock. I was on the clock every day for like 4 months. Edge until they
But
took a
you
break.
like that kind of pressure though. Why? You can't tell me you don't.
Oh, I love it. That's that last minute stuff. I love it. I'm like, I don't worry about it. I got this. So we would sit down, figure out the kinks or whatever. So yeah, about 3 or 4 episodes that didn't match up properly. but we finally got them. And my computer, like I use these hard drives, these lacy hard drives, and I have like several with just family business stuff all the way around. So um, if I have to go back now and do some family business stuff, I got a ton of drives. I can just go to one of those drives, and when they get to season six, just drop that stuff right in. It'll make my life much easier. And that's how television is anyway.
What do you
Hmm.
like about this particular opportunity that you got with a series that's clearly going to lead to more and more series, and you're working with Trey? You know his vision for new creations is always going to be out there. What is a two-part question? What have you learned by working with Trey in the studio and on this project? And then the second part of the question is you mentioned that they trust you. Now, how does that make you feel to know that they trust you enough to open the door and say, we're going to let you handle this?
You know what? I was never pressured. I'm giving going backwards. Never pressured in the sense of me not knowing what I was supposed to do because I was always on point.
Mhm.
We never got into any arguments or any disagreements. The showrunner, Indy Brown, she was very helpful. Um, of course, she was the money person and the producer, whatever, but she would always say, Rob, your family. You got this, whatever. The first part of it was your question is that me just trusting me first,
Mhm.
knowing in my heart that I had it under control because I buy so many different types of sounds. Like I was working on the family business, but seeing stuff online that'll enhance the sound, like, oh, I'm getting that. And did it work? Yes. So
Mhm.
I trusted myself a lot. They didn't have a lot to say because I didn't, you do the work because they don't have time to sit on the phone a lot of times.
Right.
And there was some times where we talked about sports when he was getting to know me, I was getting to know him. And I flew out to Dallas and we met. Now he's from LA. Well, he's from Dallas, but he was wound up being there for a conference. But just being able to make sure that my deliverables were on time,
Mhm.
making sure that happened, making sure that everything that I did felt good to me. I had a partner here. He sat with me. He said, "Do you think I said, you think they're gonna take this?" He said, "Man, they're gonna take this. They're gonna take this." And we would just go back and forth with these things. So I had a few people here that would like seen the episodes before they were out, you know. And so being comfortable, and I'm not playing for me. I'm playing for the world.
Right.
I'm scoring for you guys.
Okay.
What are you gonna say when you see this guy just get shot and this music is giving this like dramatic feel or whatever? I have to create that for you guys. It feels good to me. But it's not, I'm not playing for me. And I learned that years ago. Rule of thumb, you're not playing for yourself, you're playing for the world.
It's so
So
funny you
think about
said that. It's so funny you said that because I produce podcasts and so forth, and I tell people don't always think it's about you. You got to always put your questions and answers in the people that are watching your content.
yep.
And they a lot of people can't get that. Let me ask another question before we wrap up. You've done so many scores for a lot of different artists, a lot of different motion pictures. Which one really stands out the most for you? That let me put it like this, Rob. Let me put it like this. Meaning like this. You're gifted at what you do. You're talented at what you do. Which one or which two of the projects that you worked on really made you dig deep into areas that you probably didn't even realize you had?
I'm gonna be honest with you, it's only one. Because I knew like the family business thing was it was just there. I knew I had that from start to finish.
Hmm.
But the project that stands out to me was in 2017. I did a score, a movie, a feature length film called The Gandhi Murder. And I don't know if that was in your notes, but it was called The Gandhi Murder. I lived in Dubai for about maybe 6, 7 months like that, working on a feature film for some Indian friends of mine And that project was creme de la creme for me because one of the things that they didn't want from me was a Hindi score. And when they said, "Oh, we don't want Hindi, we want American," I'm like, "Cool." So you want American? I know what American is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hindi would have been a challenge, although I had the sounds, but you had to bring in a lot of live musicians for Hindi stuff. So I did use some Hindi stuff, some sitars, some tablas, some things I used to get the point across. But the score was dynamic. Every scene that I scored felt so good to me, and it just felt so good to the point where I didn't have to question myself. Then afterwards, we put a live orchestra on it. So then I flew to Bulgaria and put this live orchestra on with the sings or whatever. Man, I was kicking it. This is it here. I'm like, this is the big time. So now when I see that stuff on television, people in the studio directing with the orchestras, I'm like, I've been there. I've done that already.
What have you
I
seen
want to do it
change? What have you seen change before we wrap up? What have you seen change in the industry now? Everything is now a digital blueprint. Even movies go from creation to digital blueprint. And so what have you seen change over the years, and has it um crippled you in a way, or has it amplified you in as far as moving forward? Because we all have to change.
I think AI has been the biggest challenge or the biggest subject on tap right now. Whereas I've used AI, and case in point, I use AI in the family business. You would never know it, but I use it, and I don't even think I shared it with them, but it didn't matter. My editor caught it. He said, "Hey, you use some AI?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure did," but it hasn't crippled me in any way. It has enhanced what I do.
Mhm.
I write from AI every day, but I don't use the tools like say for the scoring tools, anything like that, because they're saying is AI going to replace live musicians?
Right.
Never,
Yep.
never. I don't think so. You have to be just really a superhuman to be able to emulate a real guy. So my point is, um, I like the advancement of it. I've learned so much from it, and I'm still learning. But like AI is probably the forefront of what's going on because everything like you can make a movie now in less time,
Yeah.
and then drop a AI score, which I disagree with. Would that push me out a little bit? Yes, but people are always going to want the authenticity of a real player, and I'm a real keyboard player. A lot of people I call them button pushers. They just hit the button and they sample it out, or they go buy the scores online.
Wow.
I disagree with that, and you lose out because you want the realness of saying if you jumping into the river, if you want this certain type of, sometimes you might not want music. You just want a feel. Then the music comes in. It's
Yeah.
like, man, he scored that. It's not like you putting it in there and you gotta you can't manipulate it. So
If
I like the
if you had to have somebody write your score, your your film, who would it be?
oh God, that's a good question. I would like Steven Spielberg,
Okay,
you know.
really? Why?
Yeah, because he's the GOAT. He's the GOAT. He knows. Or Martin Scorsese, somebody big like that, because I know that if it's on that level, it's
Yeah.
Oscar worthy. So you got to think big to get big. So yeah, Steven Spielberg or Martin Scorsese, I know that they would really lay out a nice film and a nice score for me. I wouldn't have to do it. I'd get somebody, or Ron Howard, who's
Yeah.
who's done a lot, has done a lot of Oscar films. So yeah, I'm on the creme de la creme.
Before we wrap up,
Hmm.
Rob, you've done so much in your life and still a lot more to come. I urge the viewers to make sure that they watch Family Business and listen to your work and listen to Trey's work. I wish you guys nothing but the best in the upcoming years. I
Yeah.
see nothing but greatness coming from you and the BET family. Leave the viewers with something that you live by every day.
It's three P's, simple. prayer, persistence, and patience. That's I got that from you heard of George Daniels.
Yeah. Mhm.
Years ago, I was trying to get into the business, and young guy, hey man, this is my tape. I was like, I really can't help you, young man, but if you just keep on keeping the three P's, prayer, persistence, and patience, you're gonna see some results. So I kind of, kept that with me throughout, and it has helped a lot, a lot, a lot. Because guess what? Persistence. I mean, all three of them, but that persistence part
Mhm.
of going to somebody's inbox at 3 in the morning
Yeah.
knowing they're not going to respond, but you're going to do it anyway because they may come back and say, hey, Rob, well, we don't have anything right now, but if we do, we'll contact you. So you have to be patient with that and prayerful. So yeah, I live by those.
Thank you so
Mm-hmm.
much for taking the time to
Yes, indeed.
bless this
Yes, indeed.
studio with your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Crayton Show.